Good afternoon and welcome to the Autism Network Podcastathon. We are finally here. I've been waiting for so long to be here and now we are here. And look at who all we are here with. This is very exciting. I'm going to run quickly down the list of who's here. Then we got a little business to take care of and then we're going to launch right into asking these folks some questions. First of all, thank you for sticking with us because we were a couple of minutes late getting here. But sitting directly next to me is my co-host, Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, a true expert in the field of autism. I'm so thrilled.
Always lovely to be here.
Lovely to be here with you.
And even more so today.
And then down the line, we have the fabulous, I've been saying Menchie all day because you are the menchiest of menchies, Joe Mantegna. You guys know him from Criminal Minds, or Fat Tony from The Simpsons, and a million other things that we love you so much for, including Searching for Bobby Fischer, one of my favorites, but so many things that you've done over the years that we'll ask you a little bit about that. Sitting next to him is the beautiful and stunning singer that we knew she was a singer, but we didn't know how much of a singer, Holly Robinson Peete. You guys know her from 21 Jump Street, Hanging with Mr. Coop, from all of the wonderful Hallmark movies that you know I live and die for, all the amazing things that you're doing there, so welcome to you. And on last but certainly not least, the fabulous Coby Bird. You guys know him from Speechless, The Good Doctor, and as Rufus on the hit Netflix show Locke Key. We are so thrilled that you are all here.
Absolutely. I love coming here all the time. I feel like I'm home with you.
Well, you feel like family to me, so we're all good with that. We want to say that there are plenty of ways for you guys to connect, and you could be asking questions for any of the folks up here on the panel. And there's a reason why you should ask a question, because during this hour, we're going to be giving away some gift certificates thanks to Discovery Toys. If you don't know Discovery Toys, you should definitely check out our toy guide because they have lots of winners in there. We are going to be giving away $25 gift certificates. We're going to give away 15 during this hour, and the way that you enter to win is by writing in a question, a comment, or sharing it with someone. And we have people backstage who will be keeping track of that. Every time you win, you get a ticket in the hat to win. We'll announce the winners at the end of the hour. You can only win one. That is the only asterisk that there is. So, you know, enter and enter often by writing in your questions. And the gift certificates can only be used on their United States website, not on the Amazon channel or in stores. So on their website. Also, I have to give a little bit of shout out because we're going to do something special at the end of this podcastathon, not this hour, but the 44th hour.
Oh, yeah. This will be fun.
Oh, yeah. So Dr. Granpeesheh and I put our heads together because we wanted to do some kind of a fundraiser, because you're going to see throughout this podcastathon, a lot of people are going to be raising money for a lot of different charities and organizations that have to do with autism. But we sort of love your charity, Autism Care Today.
Right.
And I felt very strongly, and you agreed with me, that we wanted to raise money for something very specific.
For iPads, right. So one of the biggest requests we get are for iPads, and that's because a lot of our nonverbal kids use iPads for communication, but even if you're verbal, a lot of our kids have it for entertainment or for games, educational games, and so on. So iPads are the one thing that we're really hoping to raise $5,000 for.
Yes.
And if we manage to hit that number, then I will have the wonderful experience of shaving Shannon's head live on the 44th hour of this show.
All the way, takedown.
All the way.
Bald.
Yes.
That's the big chunk.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited about it. I can't wait. And yes, live on the air, she will do that in the 44th hour.
If you hit the 5K.
Oh my goodness.
At least the 5K.
Just 5K.
We think we want to get more than 5K, and as soon as we get the 5K, then I'm going to jump it, we'll still do it at 5K, but we're going to say that we want 10K. Because you know the power of an iPad in somebody's hands.
yeah.
Everybody has
Yeah.
the right to
Yeah.
communicate. So if you want to see me get my head shaved, and her doing it, because you know she's going to make some fancy
Oh, I have
shapes while
some
she does
good
it.
equipment.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to
looking forward to the buzz. But that's hour 44. Wow. If you want to do the math, that's going to be on Thursday morning. Look,
there
this
we
is
go.
our lovely.
Wonderful.
Oh my God.
Do you remember when they used to have those things with the iron shavings, and it was shaved
Yes.
Willy, and so
Yes.
this is what
Oh
they
my
did.
God. Yeah.
All right, we have some very funny people with some very funny senses of humor here. But so you can definitely donate to that starting right now. Let's get to the 5,000 mark so that I can have my head shaved, because I enjoy being bald. It's a good thing. Okay, so for everybody here, welcome, and thank you for being here and for donating your time to be here. We love you all so much. But I'm going to throw this opening question out just to get us warmed up here. This is April. It's autism awareness, autism acceptance, autism action, whatever a word that you want, or you could throw in other words there. I just would love to give each one of you an opportunity to say, you know, what this month means to you and what maybe you participate in or how you commemorate it. We just had the numbers change from 1 in 44 to 1 in 36. Do you want to think about that? Do you want to answer first?
No, well, I mean, I was just thinking because you both have older children, and I started in this field in 1978, which is crazy because back then the prevalence was 1 in 15,000 children. So you might remember when your daughter was diagnosed or when your son was diagnosed and how unbelievably the prevalence has just continued to increase. And this new number, of course, is already 3 years old. It's from 2020.
Right, that's the confusing part. I've had people ask me about that. It's already
From
from 2020. It takes a while to
Yeah.
do that, and so that's been a little. It was jarring to get the actual number, and we knew it was coming, right? But when you see it in print, it's jarring.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be on for 44 hours, and we chose the number 44 because that's what the prevalence was. And we said all
Right.
along, we knew, we had
number was gonna
heard that there was a
change.
new number that was coming. And we said we're going to do 44 hours no matter what in commemoration of that. But we also were getting little feelers of people saying it's going to stay the same, the number might go up. And so when it went down so significantly, which is actually up, right?
Right.
It kind of caught my breath, But, you know, what do you want to say about the month of April? Is it a big deal for you, a little deal?
I would say this. I think it's wonderful that they have this designation to create this awareness. But for people like ourselves, every month is Autism Month. You know, and so it's like, so it's just that realization of knowing it's nice to be able to take that time and hopefully each April, even if in a small way, enlightens up a person or makes them aware of it and moves them, just moves the whole thing forward.
Yeah.
Then it's not a good thing. But for us, people, parents like ourselves, I mean, that's it's. I go back to when people will say to me, "What's it like to have a child with autism?" And my answer always is, "I don't know what it's like not to have a child with autism." And so that's the reality.
And I would just add that for families who are just getting the diagnosis, that this is a great thing to have April be here because people are paying attention, there's awareness, there's information about what your child is dealing with, whereas, back in the day, you didn't have all this awareness. So we live with it a lot all the time, but it's like, if you're just getting the diagnosis today and you have everyone talking about it and posting about it, you don't feel so alone. You feel seen. So I think that for me, that's the best part about it.
I think for a lot of people, it's either autism acceptance or autism awareness. For me, I think it's both because you are aware, but also I want you to accept me. But I think also with the number being where it is now and where we are in the present, and so much has changed over the years. I feel like in a lot of ways, with so many options and so many things to choose from, it's a lot easier. But also like what I was saying about with parents, it's such a good time to branch out and find people and find new things because it's a whole new world, but it's also a very beautiful one.
Nicely
I
said.
love that, hopeful.
I of course agree with all of you, and I'm from someone who's been treating kids for that long, for many, many, many years. It's wonderful to see so many things have changed, right? So like acceptance, of course, but like you can go to a restaurant and order gluten-free food, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You can.
Woo, no more ordering that cardboard stuff online.
Oh my
It's so
goodness.
much has changed. Like we have insurance. We have
Yes.
insurance coverage,
Yeah.
which I never thought would happen in my life, and it has happened, and it's across the U.S. and it's incredible. So there's been a lot of really good change. I guess when Shannon and I were talking about this when it came out last week, for me, it's more like, why is it going up so drastically?
Right.
Like, what we need to answer that question, because it's not just about autism. It's about, you know, lots of other chronic disabilities and illnesses that are just increasing. And if it has something to do with toxicity, we need to really do something about that, because it's scary, you know, like what are we actually doing to our own world? That's, for me, that's what I hope would come out every April.
And I've been singing the tune. I just want us to fully fund IDEA.
Yeah,
I feel like it's
of
just the
course.
beginning, but I want us to fully, if 1 in 36, that means that every single classroom in the United States is going to have an individual on the
Yep.
spectrum who needs support. So let's fully fund that and stop making it an argument between the school and the family. Let's like just do it for
Yes.
once and for all. We keep saying we're going to do it. It's time to do it. I know we've gone through a lot with the pandemic, but it's time.
Yeah.
So that's my war cry right now.
Absolutely.
But I want to say to you, Holly, that when my son was diagnosed, I think the number was 1 in 25, and I very much felt like I was on a planet alone. And I was saying to Dr. Granpeesheh,
1 in 25?
no, 1 in 125.
Oh,
excuse
right.
me. Thank you for thank you. 1 in 125.
Yeah.
And but I still felt like I was on a planet alone. And I, you know, I love Oprah. I make no bones about that. And I would always turn on my television, and Oprah would speak to me, and I turned on my television, and there you were, and you were saying things that I needed. I'm going to get emotional, but you were saying things that I needed to hear, and it shaped how the next year went for us. So I owe you gratitude.
Well,
always
you
for that.
always tell me this, Shannon, every
Okay.
year.
Okay.
And I always get emotional when I think about it, because that is exactly why we decided to talk about it publicly.
Yeah.
And when Oprah called and said, "Do you want to have this conversation?" I was just like, as long as I just don't sit on there and cry the whole time. Like, I wanted to be an example. And Rodney didn't want us to have this conversation publicly. He's like, "You're not labeling my child. He's not going to be the boy with the quarterback dad and the actress mom with autism." But we talked about the importance of feeling seen and having this conversation.
It's huge.
And
Right.
it's huge. And then, you know, we had an argument. Like, it was a big pros and cons. And I won that argument because I win all the arguments in my house. That's just a fact. Come on, Joe.
There you go.
Come on, the happy life, right? But when we look back, because I think when RJ got diagnosed, I don't think it was 1 in 150. And we see being able to go on TV, have a conversation like this.
Right.
We didn't see this kind of stuff back in
No.
2000. It's important. You have to let people feel less alone. And then that's how we get the funding, that's how we get the conversations,
That's right.
all of it.
In relation to that, you know, I go back a bit further back. So when my daughter was diagnosed, it was 1 in 1,500.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
back, this was 1987.
Yeah.
And I remember I was doing the movie at the time. I was shooting Godfather 3 in New York, and she was diagnosed while we were in New York because we knew, we could see she wasn't, you know, you started to pick up on things. She was about 2.5 years old. All the different aspects of autism we started to pick up on. So once she was diagnosed, I was like, okay, this is, you know, the doctor tells you this, that she has 8 of the 10 kinds of indications of autism, and your heart goes in your stomach, then jumps back up to where it belongs, and you go, okay, now what? But I remember, I finished the movie, we come back to Los Angeles, and it's about 3 or 4 months later now, and now, maybe 6 months later, and now the press is starting to come out for the movie. And Time, I think it was Time Magazine or People Magazine, I can't remember which publication, it was obviously a very popular national magazine, calls me as part of the publicity thing. And the interviewer on the phone says to me, "It's come to our attention that you have a daughter with autism. Would you mind talking about it?" Now at this point, as far as I knew, nobody knew anything about this.
Wow.
She had been diagnosed, like I said, we were still kind of coming to grips with it and thinking, okay, now where do we go, who do we contact? As I said, back in '87, there wasn't quite as many outlets to reach out. So I didn't even bother to ask, like, how did you know this? Because, you know, it was something like Time Magazine, all it would need is one person to say something. And I realized in that instant that they asked the question, I had to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
And it went through my head, I thought to myself, if I say no, I don't want to talk about it, I thought to myself, I'm negating my daughter's existence in a way.
Oh my gosh.
In other words, I'm saying, I don't want to talk about this, but, and yet on the other hand, I thought, but I have to decide. So at that moment, I just said to myself, yeah, I'll talk about it. And so they asked me a few questions. And I explained some certain things, how it manifested itself, and then I forgot about the article came out, whatever it was. I get a letter sent to me through, somebody tracks down who I have, what agent I have or whatever, and I get a letter. It says, "Dear Mr. Mantegna, I just want to let you know we read your interview in People magazine or whatever it was." And it was just so comforting to see that somebody understood what it's like to have their daughter, because I think I mentioned that sometimes we'd be in a grocery store and my daughter would start, for whatever, something had triggered it, and she starts screaming or yelling, and all of a sudden all the other parents are looking at you like you're a bad parent.
Of course.
And you want to say, no, that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
And so this woman just says, we thought it only happens to people like us and not people like yourself. And as soon as I read that from that moment on, I knew there's no turning back. There's no justification to say, look, I can't, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I have to almost do the opposite. I have to say, yeah, that's Mia. This is what's going on with Mia.
It takes a lot of
And-
courage, Joe, because back then nobody was having these conversations. And for you to have in that moment, realize, I don't want to deny who she is, and even have the forethought, even if you even thought about this, what it would mean for you to have a conversation with time or people, and for someone to reach back out to you and go, thank you. Back then,
yeah.
nobody was having these
No,
conversations.
no. Like I said, but it's freeing. Once that was done, there's no going back, and so that's fine. And the point is, better to come out that way than all of a sudden down the line, somebody says,
outed.
"Hey, what's going on?
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
why didn't
There's
so
another
whatever.
aspect too. I don't know if you realize, when you guys come to events and press comes to these events and fundraising occurs because you have been talking about this, those funds, my organization, our nonprofit, we've given away $2 million to families, and it's because you've been to so many of our events, both of you have, and it's because you're there. So you're also really affecting what happens for other people and other kids through that fundraising. So it's awareness, but it's also just, helping raise help for others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to address, we got a lot of people watching and writing in. Folks watching in Australia, love to hear that. Watching in Culver City, too.
Oh, yeah.
Saying hi to Our Journey, Cameron's New Life, who says that, she says hello, and gut health is important. We're saying hi to Judy in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And also saying hi to Eric, who has written in and identified himself as a 36-year-old who has autism, ADD, ADHD, SPD, and sensory processing disorder, along with OCD, depression, anxiety, and stress. And Eric, we're so glad that you're here with us. Also saying hello to Joannie. We love having you here with us. And they've started a really interesting conversation about bullying online that maybe if we have a chance to get into that. Coby, I know that that's something that you talk about. You are somebody who has been a speaker, you're a keynote speaker, and it's a part of your journey, which I hate. I hate that that's a part of your journey, but in this whole disclosure conversation, you talk about that sometimes. I'm not saying you have to talk about it right now, but you tell the story about how you were bullied when you speak.
Yeah.
I've seen you speak to 1,200 people and have them just be so moved when you talk about that.
I think in a lot of ways having those experiences and telling people, okay, this is what I went through. This is my journey, and I think also for parents who hear that, and also for people around my age who have gone through the same thing, it's them saying, okay, this is what I relate to. I understand this, and it's like it's making them feel seen, and it's not making them feel alone. And I think in a lot of ways, I did a keynote speech back in 2019, and that was such a big moment for me, but also for advocating for everybody on the spectrum. And it was it was one of the biggest. It was one of the biggest things that I had done because I was talking to thousands of people. It was such a huge thing, but it was also amazing because it was me on the stage telling everybody, this is what I went through, and I also want you to know that it's going to be okay. You're not alone, and I think having that reassurance really helps a lot of people, and that's why I'm doing this, and that's why it means so much to me because it's making sure that it's making sure that they know that it's going to be all right, and there are so many ways that we can help you, and that I want to help you. So it's finding that acceptance and that awareness.
Well, you're a wonderful spokesperson. You've just blazed new trails for so many people, given so many people hope, and really you were the first. Several times you were the first actor on the spectrum to do representation in a way that was seen publicly. Starting as a kid on Speechless, and then Good Doctor. When you booked Good Doctor, we all lost our minds. And then you turn around and do Rufus, and Rufus is so, if you guys haven't watched Netflix, Locke Key, you have to watch 3 seasons. You have to watch, because Coby kicked butt and took names.
It's a wonderful show.
We've said it.
And now Coby has a new talent that he just discovered. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so about almost a month ago, I think, Shannon asked me to do a commission for The Office, and originally it was going to splash paint on a canvas. And at first I was like, well, I can't paint. So originally it was a hard no, like absolutely not. I don't know if I can do this, but then I thought about it for a bit, and I thought, why not? I might as well do it. So I told Shannon yes, and I think about 2 weeks ago, I came to the office and I did it, at first I was a little nervous about like splashing the paint, so we came up with a more easier way of doing it, and it was such a wonderful time. But the one thing I think is really fascinating about it is that I can't really say that I enjoyed it or not. But it was because I wasn't thinking about it. I was in this zen where I was painting the entire time, and I was so into it that I knew how to prepare for it. I knew what colors I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted it to go and how I wanted to execute it. And I got so into it. I was there for almost a good 5 hours, just so into it, and it was such a great time. But tonight I'm going to be doing another canvas on the podcast with me and my mom, so that live at midnight. So that'll be really fun to do again.
Yeah, and during that time, his mom is going to unveil the video, because she did a time-lapse video of him doing it. So that's hour 10, you guys. That's at midnight tonight. Is that hour 10? I think it's hour 10. It's at midnight tonight Pacific time. So, and Coby, you'll see when he paints, because your focus was just so wonderful to watch you work. It was really lovely. And then you're going to auction that painting off and raise some money on your own, so for wonderful causes. So they've been able to see it. You guys will see the pictures later on, but it's gracing our studio. It's a beautiful work of art. We're so thrilled with it. Thank you for doing that.
Absolutely.
And since we're on the subject of talents,
Yes.
can we?
Oh my gosh. Can we talk about The Masked Singer?
Of course, we can talk about The Masked Singer. So I did this show. When they asked me, I've always loved to sing. Like, I love to sing since I was a little girl. And when I graduated I went to Sarah Lawrence College, and I graduated from Sarah Lawrence, I was always known as the singer there. You're in college, you kind of, people know you as, oh, that's the actor on campus or the artist on campus. I was the singer on campus, but then when I graduated, I tried to get a record deal, and I was struggling, and got 21 Jump Street. So when I got 21 Jump, I was like, well, they're like, hey, do you want to sing our theme song? I was like, sure, I'll sing the 21 Jump Street theme song. That kind of like, I still wanted, burning desire to be a singer. Anyway, fast forward all these years later, Masked Singer at Fox, they say, you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, that'd be kind of fun. I have not sang like that on a stage in so many years, dressed up like a fairy. And it was so much fun. And I knew all the judges, including the host. Nobody guessed me. But I got to sing 2 songs that I love. I got to sing You're No Good by Linda Ronstadt, and she's a personal friend. I just love her so much. And Angel from Montgomery for Country Music Night by Bonnie Raitt, who was another artist who I'm obsessed with. So it was like a fantasy. And then when I got unmasked, I was mad because I got real competitive. I was like, wait a second, I'm not ready to go home. I want to come back for 80s night. I got my song picked out. But anyway, it was so fun. The most hilarious thing was my kids had to sign NDAs. They thought that was such a big deal. Like, we're signing NDAs. Like, this is a secret. But it's the whole thing is, keep it a secret. But no one, by the way, guessed me on the panel, but everyone online knew it was me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went on Twitter. I was like, let me just click on the hashtag.
Sarah Lawrence alumni office.
Yeah, right. And like my friends, but like random people. I think they Googled like a lot of the clues and maybe, but it was fun. It was just really fun. And I heard from Linda Ronstadt. She saw it. She loved it. That was like a special thrill. It was cool.
I gotta
So
say,
who knew?
My husband and I watch it. It's a guilty pleasure for us, and we like to guess and we like to watch the clues and everything. Had no idea it was you, and usually people come out and they start singing, and we immediately we look for clues about how old is this person? Are they a singer or an actor?
Right.
And like there's actors who can sing, no shame, no foul, right? But there are people come out and we go, oh no, that's a singer. That person's got a Grammy, whatever. You sang and we were like, oh, that's a singer with a Grammy.
You did not get the badge and the 21, like someone had blackjack, like 21 and the cop.
No, I totally didn't. And I didn't get the original when you said that you were the original Nepo baby. I totally missed that.
Well, I mean, that one is, because my dad was Gordon on Sesame Street, so you had to go way back, and that was, but it was also Sesame Street night, Shannon.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, Shannon.
I know, and
You're my friend. You're supposed to know these things.
I know. When you sang at Dodger Stadium, I stood like this far away from you when you sang. I know you can sing, but I didn't know. I don't think anybody knew. Nick Cannon didn't know that you could sing that way.
Well,
everyone went, whoa.
It was a blast. It was so much fun,
So
and I
when
would do
does
it all
the
over
album
again.
come out? Is what we all need to know.
Well, I'm in talks. No, there's no
sure
album
must
coming
be.
out right now. But I
I need an album.
You need an album?
Yeah, I need
Okay.
one.
All right. Well, I'll see what I can. I am singing the anthem at the Dodger game coming up.
you go.
Listen,
Oh,
that's the
You're
extent.
not going to be in the outfit, though.
No, I'm not dressing up as a
Right,
fairy.
you're going to put the outfit away.
I'm wearing all Dodger blue. But yeah, it was totally fun. My husband was like, "Can you wear that home?" But that's another story.
Which game? What date?
April 14th.
Okay,
I think it's the
Not the Cubs, is it? Because
think
I
it's
know
the
they're coming to town.
Cubs.
Oh, there you go. Well,
Joe, are you going to be there?
there's a good chance now. Yeah, I think
Come
I
on,
can
Joe.
handle it. Yeah.
I think it's your team, so you got to
Great,
show up.
sure.
So many people are saying, Mike Kipple says some of my favorite people that I follow on social media are here. Thank you so much to advocate to the media and to the world, and that he's watching from Wisconsin. Mike, we're so thrilled that you're there. Parker's with us. Parker says Holly does not age at all, and Parker, you're right.
Parker, I love you.
Okay, Judy says, I'm raising my 14-year-old grandson nonverbal autistic and my granddaughter 12. She feels like no one understands. And yet I think that a lot of people on the spectrum can identify with that statement, Coby, don't you?
Yeah.
And yet there is this big, beautiful community of people. You've got
There
tons
really
of
is.
friends.
Yeah.
I've met so many people that I never would have thought I would have known, and it's been. We didn't at the time. We didn't know when I was in elementary school. We didn't know. We weren't really able to find a community. So when we found it, we found it at the right time, and I'm so glad that was like the beginning, because that was where my journey began. That was where I came out of my shell and I started in. Acting is why I'm here today, and when I'm on set, I'm not focused on my central issues, or I'm not focused on the social aspect, because I'm so in character. So it's like to be so hyper focused on that, and to not let any of those things get in the way. That to me is so important. And that's why I've gone so far, and it's pushed me to do things I never would have thought I would have done. So super happy to be here.
Amazing.
Well,
Yeah,
I
right,
remember
yeah.
you learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
They were in Toronto, and of course,
yeah.
I'm really, we've known you since you were not quite 6'4",
Mm-hmm.
back in the day,
Yeah.
like maybe 6'2" when you were 6'2". But you guys went to Toronto, and then all of a sudden, your mom was telling me you were riding a bike, and we were all excited for you. And then of course, then we got to watch you ride a bike in an action scene.
Oh, that's so. For the longest time, I really wanted to ride a bike, and that was on my bucket list. We just also the same thing with painting and in acting. It was something that I didn't know I wanted to do, but it was something on my list. So in Toronto, so there are these little bike stations all over Toronto, like hundreds of them. There's so many of them, and there was one right by our residence. So one day we were going out, and I told my mom, "Hey, I want to go ride a bike," and she was like, "Are you sure? Do you want to do it?" And I said, "I want to do it." So we spent. So we got one of the bikes, and there was a little ramp, like a little hill that was right there, but it was still in the city. But I pretty much spent 45 minutes trying to learn, and I got it and I got it right away in that moment. And it's one of my favorite hobbies now. It's just something that I want to keep doing. But it's like that, like with painting and with biking. It's things you don't know you can do, but when you find those, oh yeah, that's it. That's something that I want to do, and that's something that I love to do. And that to me was like the beginning of that. And it was, and I actually learned to bike on April 2nd. That also was such a really important moment for me because it was showing I have autism. I can learn to ride a bike, and it's showing us that we're capable. Our minds might work differently, but that doesn't mean we are different. One of the things I was saying last week or weeks ago that with autism there are externals, but to me the most important part are the internals. It's how we see things, it's how we hear things, it's how we look at them, how we perceive them, how we analyze them. But also it's also our thoughts. And I think one of the hardest things for a lot of people on the spectrum, including me, is that we know what to say, we know what's on our minds, and we know what our thoughts are. But when it comes out, it's not the way we expect it, and that's how I am all the time. Like right now, I'm thinking of what to say, and it's like, oh God, I hope I can execute it right.
You're doing a great
You're doing
job.
just fine, Coby.
I just want you to know, Coby, the rest of us also suffer with that a little bit. We're not always.
I used to ask RJ what it was like when he was nonverbal, really verbally challenged, and he'd say, I had it in my mind. It was like a ball stuck in my throat. Like he would say that. I thought that was so profound because that was him expressing that it's right here, but and he said it was frustrating. But it's so great to hear you articulate your feelings, advocate for yourself, and that's super cool for other people to see that you're doing that.
Really.
It's a big process, but also one of the things is that when I meet people, they say, "Oh, you don't have autism." You stutter. You're. But I don't see it. You don't see you see the preparation. You see the execution. You don't see the internal. You don't see what's going in. You don't see me preparing for that. The anxiety, that fear, saying, "Oh God, what if I do something wrong?" It's that. You're seeing the mask. You're seeing what I've put on and what I'm doing right now. But
you know what I'm also seeing is support around you. I always say I wouldn't change RJ for the world because he's just the coolest kid, but I would try to change the world around him and how they see you and how they have that patience for all of these things. And when my son comes home from work, he's like he has to jump on the trampoline for 2 hours just to get right in his body because he's been, I don't want to say pretending, but he's been wearing the mask all day long. And it's stressful, right? But when we know that's what you're going through, then we can give you as much support as you need.
Yeah, exactly. And that support is so important because it makes it, because also it makes us feel like we're not alone. To have people around to say, we got you, we understand what you're going through. If you need something from us,
Need a moment.
we're here. And that to me is so important. Like having friends and having family, having loved ones around you, coworkers. That to me is such a big part of it because also one of the misconceptions is that we don't want to be social. I want to be social so bad. I want to have a conversation, but I have major social anxiety. So it's trying to get myself out there, and also with the preparation, it's me putting the mask on, and it's me trying my best to socialize. So that to me is really important.
In keeping with that, I was going to say, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when my daughter was at age now, she has to go into the educational system, schools. And we decided, with my lifestyle as an actor, there's going to be a lot of traveling, but I decided early on, we've all got to do it together. And if it means disrupting, what's happening here at home, so it be. In other words, my daughter's going to have to learn the capital of Indiana some other time at school, but we're all going to travel together. We made that decision, and we did, and we go to different countries even, and you'd learn things, how they were doing things differently, and you'd pick up some. And one of the most profound things that happened is when I was going, it's turned out to be my hometown, Chicago. We go to Chicago, I'm going to be doing this film in Chicago, Baby's Day Out at the time. And
Which we love.
We love that too.
so anyway, we were there, and we realized I'm going to be there about because it was a big movie, so we're going to be there maybe 4 or 5 months. So we tried to find a school, and at that time, the schooling was all your choices. Where you go into a public school, you have an IEP, you do all that, and they'll put your child in a special class, and
With everybody else.
With everybody else. So we go to this one school, and it wasn't a public school. It was called a Catherine Cook School. It was a private school, but it was in the neighborhood where we got an apartment to live. And we said, well, let's just try it out. Let's just see, maybe they'll be responsive. So we go, we have this daughter. She's 6 years old. She has autism. I don't know if you have programs here or not, or do you think you have maybe a place for... And the principal says, I think you should meet one of our teachers. She takes us, and my 6-year-old daughter, Mia, we go into this room, and there's this teacher, her name was Karen Fendler. And we explained to her, well, we have our daughter, and she's in it. Karen goes, I get it. She takes my daughter by the hand, walks in front of all these 6-year-olds, and said, this is Mia. Mia has a thing called autism. She's going to be here now. She might get up and walk around. She may go up to the blackboard, start doing it. She might start singing. She might do all of these things. She's going to be a little different than all of you. So we're all going to support her. We're going to love her. We're going to understand that.
Wow.
And my wife and I are standing there like, oh my God. This is different. We've never seen anybody do this. And then that was it. And she says, Mia's going to be just fine. You guys can go home and be fine. And of course, she was there that whole semester. And from that point on, when we came back to LA, back to our home here, we realized, okay, we can't accept less than this, if possible.
Yeah.
So from that point on, we would go to the school each school year, talk to the principal, and they'd say, whether it was 5th grade, 6th grade, 8th grade, can we talk to the teacher and see in the regular class and see if they can handle this. And we would do that, we'd explain it, and then we would talk to the kids. We would do what Karen showed us. We'd say, our daughter has this thing.
Amazing.
And more often than not, they would embrace it, and at the end of the school year, and often the teacher had no experience in it, and at the end of the school year, the teacher would tell us, we hope Mia benefited from us, but I certainly know all the rest of the kids benefited from us, because they found out that not everybody is the same.
That's
right.
And so that was through high school. That was the same way. She
In
went
the
to regular high
80s,
school.
80s or 90s?
This was started in the early 90s. Like
Right.
she was like about 92, and then beyond, all the way through high school. She went to regular high school here in Encino, and had that same situation. And it was just so wonderful to be able to see these kids take that responsibility and realize, okay, we're going to help her. We're going to support her.
That's so
And so
awesome.
that's included, and then
that.
those are one of the things we learned in Canada. Because when I was working in Canada, when we thought we'd bring her to a class early on, and they would put her in a special class, they said, no, we don't do that here. They said, what does your daughter need? She says, she's going to be in a class with all the other kids. Now, if your daughter needs a wheelchair, we'll get her the wheelchair. If your daughter needs this, she gets this. She says, we don't like to specialize. And that's when we realized yeah, that's kind of the way we hope the world would
Yeah.
Right.
be more like.
I wanted to
Yes.
say, can we clone that teacher?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? But
Oh,
you
to this
kind of
day,
did.
we
'cause you
did.
took
We
it and you went.
Oh, and we still see her. We fly her in at Christmas time.
Oh my gosh.
She's part
Oh,
of our
good.
family.
But it
Good, because
Yes.
what the power of one person
Yeah.
and seeing things in a way, looking at individuals, which is the thing that I always say about you.
I know,
That
you're
you
too
are,
kind.
she is the queen of perspective taking and looking at an individual and seeing an individual and looking at that individual and the family around them, which was life-changing for us and continues to be life-changing for so many people. Hey, I gotta say, last call for comments. If you want to be entered to win a Discovery Toys gift certificate, last call for comments. So many things that you guys are gonna have to see later on. And Holly, everybody just has said that you look absolutely beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
So lots of comments on that, I must say.
I'm going to embrace that.
Shauna says, thank you so much for bringing awareness. My oldest is 12 and autistic. And so we thank you so much, Shauna, for being here. Amanda, I'm so thrilled to see you here as well. Gemma's Journey Grace and 619 Poker King is with us.
Yeah, I
Some
saw.
of our regulars. So we're so thrilled that
There's
you guys
folks
are.
from the UK on as
Oh,
well.
I love
Shonky
it.
Lee, so thrilled that you guys are here. We hope that you guys are going to stay for more of the podcastathon because every hour it's sort of a different thing. In the next hour, it will be Ask Dr. Doreen, where you can be asking all kinds of questions about absolutely underneath everything under the sun, and Dr. Doreen will answer your questions in real time. The next hour, she's going to talk specifically about anxiety.
Ooh.
Because we all know that's a thing.
That is a thing.
That
That
is
is
a
a
thing.
thing. I wanted to say to Dr. Doreen that I had the opportunity to be on the Proud Family Louder and Prouder. Do you know this show? So, I've done a few things over it, right? My kids don't care about anything that I've done. They don't think anything special, right? They're like, oh yeah, good for you, Mom. Way to go. I get booked on the Proud Family, Loud and Proud. You would have thought I won an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar. I mean, they were so excited. And
awesome.
then I got to play a doctor who diagnoses a child with autism.
Wow.
So I thought about you, and I thought about all these compassionate doctors, because we didn't get a great diagnosis. Like, she just gave us all, we call it the never day. I've told you about that story a million times. All things RJ would never do. So I got to play Dr. Audre Lorde, and she diagnoses the little boy on Proud Family with autism, and I got to do it in like how I would imagine or wish. I got to reimagine the diagnosis because this lady gave us no hope, and it's so great. So shout out to the producers of the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. For creating this character, right? And it was done with humor. It's, a show that reaches a lot of African American families who, in our community, we don't really process this diagnosis very well. And so proud of that. So if you guys get a chance to check out the
That's
Proud
amazing.
Family. Yeah, but I thought about you, but I thought about
Thank you.
compassionate doctors who really give families hope, and then did my best, Dr. Doreen.
Thank you.
That's great.
Now I gotta watch this.
Yeah, you'll love it.
yeah.
It's
We
very.
together.
I'll send you the clip. It's
Okay,
very.
have to do that
I'm
for
very
sure.
excited. Traven had actually mentioned something about our producer, and I didn't get to it. I'm a failure.
okay. It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good. We've only got a couple of minutes left here, and so many comments that I can't get all to. But I wanted to give you guys a second to talk about, because Coby, I know you just did some improv recently with Sherry O'Terry.
Yes.
I got to hear a little bit about
love
that.
her.
What that was like.
So one of my very good friends, Connor Haney, is a writer and an actor. I've worked on him. I've worked with him on so many amusing projects. And there's this improv show he does called The Sound of Musical, and it's one of the funniest things ever. So what it is it's an improv show, and it's a musical. So they get someone from the crowd to say, like, give us a theme, give us something, like last time was the Bone Graft Diaries, and it's an entire show with music, and it's with music and melodies, and it's all improvised, and it's one of the funniest things ever. So he wanted me to come in for the show before, and Sherry O'Terry was one of the celebrity guest stars, so I got to work with her, and I got to be honest with you. Improv for me is such a hard thing because it's not it is with autism, but also for me it's like the anxiety, because for a lot of people on the spectrum, we're processing what to say and it's a lot slower. So it's like you're thinking about it on the dot. You're trying to like get in mind, pick up the pace. It's that going along with it. So I was really nervous about it, and I always get very nervous about improv, but it was such a fun night. I had such a good time with Sherry. She was so funny. She was so
She's
sweet.
hysterical.
Oh my
Great.
goodness.
So amazing.
She's just this. She's just this big ball of energy. And it's just so fun to work with her. But that was such a really good night, and yeah, it was really fun.
Dr. Granpeesheh and I are at the head of your fan club. We just want you
Yes.
to know.
I want to join.
Here adoring you right now.
And I don't know how many people know this about you, Joe, that you're a director and that you've directed some amazing, and also a playwright too. So
like,
I like how you dismiss that. One of my husband's
in my
favorite
free
plays.
time.
Okay, so you just make the dismissal there. I saw that. But
I'm a good
I know
golfer,
I
too.
saw I saw a play that you directed a few years ago before the pandemic, and then I saw it on your IMDb. Did you guys film it? We're talking about the Lenny Bruce.
Yeah, we did. During the pandemic, we take that opportunity. So I filmed like about 5 or 6 episodes and then edited it together. But we're still actually holding on to the film because now that we're back doing live theaters happening again, right now Ronnie Marmo, who actually wrote the play, he's up in Seattle right now. He'll be doing the show all week up in Washington State. And it's been traveling around the country. We've already done Chicago, New York, LA, and at some point, the film version will come out. But right now we're letting the play kind of, let him enjoy doing the live performances of
It's a
it.
great show. I love Lenny
Amazing.
Bruce,
Thank
and
you.
Ronnie Marmo is like amazing.
Yeah.
He came on the show with you a couple of
Yes,
years ago.
he did.
With Joanne Laura, the
That's
great,
right.
great Joanne Laura.
Exactly. Well, we
God bless her.
co-produced actually a play about autism at the theater that Ronnie, is part of
Right,
it.
self-injurious behavior, right?
Yeah,
Well, that was the
exactly,
play. Amazing.
exactly.
And Miss Holly, I got to know, because, I need my Hallmark fix, because, you tend to, I don't want to put pressure on you, but you tend to do at least one Christmas movie, sometimes more than one, because you do guest stars on other Hallmark Christmas movies, and I look out for you, because yours destroy me. Every year, they destroy me. But then, you also did one this last year that wasn't a Christmas movie, that was a
The Journey
whole
Ahead.
different thing.
Yeah, it was
That-
totally different.
Oh my
totally
gosh!
different.
And I just thought it was really lovely.
Well, I was so proud of that because The Journey Ahead was really about, I played a fading movie star who wasn't getting the good roles anymore. She was kind of bitter. And she had all these secrets, she had a child she gave up for adoption and everything. And she runs up against this young free spirit kayak young lady, amazing young actress, and who's also queer. And so it was just such a cool Hallmark moment because it was very inclusive and it was just beautiful. So I love that I got a chance to break out a little bit of my Christmas mold. But now
We like the Christmas mold too.
Oh no,
but
I'm not
this
going anywhere.
But this was
They
amazing.
didn't name me Holly for no reason.
It was such a great, different buddy film.
No,
wasn't
it was.
what you were expecting.
Oh,
and
you
it was
didn't. You
fantastic.
didn't know which direction
Yeah.
The Journey Ahead was
Yeah.
going to go, and I read the script and I was like, wow. And then worked with this actress. It was awesome. But now we're pitching. It's that time of year. We might have a pending writer strike, so we got a few
Right,
things.
exactly.
We got a few things going on here. And so we're developing my next one, and we'll see. Shannon, I'm gonna let you know what it's called. And
I have to
when it happens.
mainline my Hallmark. You know that about me. I get very mushy about it. Do you know that I watch all the Hallmark movies?
I love Hallmark too.
She watches
My
all
mom
of
is the same way.
them.
She loves Hallmark.
Hallmark.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
It's a religion with me. There we go. Okay, so I need to say the winners, and each one of you has won. If I say your name, you've won a $25 gift certificate. But here's the deal: I have to have your email. So you need to email me to claim it, and then I will send it back to you. Give me a couple of days because I'm going to be a little busy for a couple of days. But so here we go. Eric Levitt, you won a $25 gift certificate. Judy Go, Gary Burge, Mike Hipple, Parker Odell, Alyssa Alfonso, Chonky Lee, May Tebb, Sophia Mendoza, Daniel Fowler, Shauna, I'm not going to say your last name because Shalom Perez. It wasn't that hard. It looked different when I was looking at it. Sorry. Michelle Reeves, Sleepy Mama 14, 619 Poker King, and Gemma's Journey Grace. Grace, you've all won gift cards for Discover Toys. So you have to email me, ready for this? Got your pencil ready? Shannon at autism-live.com. Again, that's Shannon at autism-live.com. If you will email me, I will get those. It's a digital gift card that you'll be able to spend at the Discovery Toys USA website. It will only be good there. We'll send you the instructions along with it. I gotta say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
guys.
You guys are
you.
amazing, and thank
Absolutely.
you for starting us off on such a good light, and love always, yeah?
Yes, thank you for the
Always.
work that you guys are doing, and good luck the
Absolutely.
rest of the way.
Bon
So
voyage.
tell people about it, because we've got some really amazing shows coming up.
And make sure you look at us, watch us on the last hour when
Yes.
I'm shaving.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
be watching.
Yeah.
That'll be at
Watch.
10 o'clock on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes, 10
Great.
o'clock on Thursday morning,
Should be
the
fun.
live buzzing.
Yes.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm thrilled about it. I can't wait. So we are going to take a short pause, and then we are going to be back with Ask Dr. Doreen. So don't go anywhere, you guys.